Here we go, a very special guest and the man that knows more about Houston, as far as I know, that is. He is Mr. McKinney, Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston. He is a historian, a Houston enthusiast, and so much more. Mr. McKinney, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm excited to be here.
Here we are before Christmas, and,
Yes.
and first of all, if someone has, and we have people out of state listening on the internet and things, but let's tell people who you are, a little bit about that, what you do, because you are a unique force in Houston and just a wealth of knowledge about history and so much about our city.
Oh, well, you're so kind. No, I've just had the pleasure over the years of, educating Houston's past, Houston's future, rather, about its past, on board the Houston History Bus and, of course, in classrooms. So that's what I do. I lecture and I teach about Houston history. I only focus on Houston history. We do sprinkle a little bit of Texas history in there. But if you're interested in learning about Houston's past and all shapes, all varieties of our city's, growth, Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston is the place to be to learn about that.
And right off the bat, let's tell them the coordinates where they can follow you online. So that way, in case someone's near their
Sure.
computer or later, they can go back because you have things going on all year.
Absolutely. We want you to stay plugged in, and social media is probably the best way for us to give you content about Houston history. We're always posting about Houston history and Houston's past. We tell the story with different milestone anniversaries. There's always an anniversary going on of something, and that's why we're able to talk about that and kind of put that on people's minds. And it's at on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Mister McKinney's Historic Houston, Mr. spelled out, Mister McKinney, Historic Houston, and of course the Houston History Bus, which is our mobile classroom. Just 3 words, Houston History Bus. So as you're listening right now, if you're on your phones, you're able to chime into that. That'd be wonderful to be able to really kind of learn about Houston history as we're talking about it right now.
Other than the fact, I've said this before, Mr. McKinney, that is, we're fortunate. You're probably the only historian of their type in any city. And also, you're the only one, I think, that has a history bus. And you've already mentioned the term, the Houston History Bus. Now, people may wonder what that is. I'll start out, and you can embellish. It is a school bus with the top open air so that as you drive around and go ahead from there.
Exactly. It is Houston's only mobile classroom, open air mobile classroom. And, with the current times that are going on, people have really embraced us even more so than ever because you're able to really enjoy and learn about Houston history in a fun and safe way. So I take realtors, I take kids, I take, adults of all kinds on board the bus to where the history actually happened. So we're traveling in different neighborhoods here in Houston, and we're talking about that neighborhood's past in detail with amazing, historical photos, old images that are blown up on foam boards. So as we're driving through a neighborhood or driving through downtown or driving through a community like Cypress or, Katy or the Woodlands or even Galveston, here we are driving around showing you where these historical sites and happenings actually took place in Houston's past. And that's what makes our experience different. As an educator, I can really, and even as a performer, I can read my audience. I can look at them and understand if they're actually absorbing content. If they're not absorbing content, I'm doing something wrong as a storyteller. So we make sure that people are engulfed in history all around them, 360-degree views, and that's what makes our bus unique. It makes learning fun, and I think it also means for people actually absorbing the content.
It totally makes learning fun. And the history bus is there for history, but it also springs into action this time of year as far as we're talking about fun, Christmas lights. Let's tell people about what's going on actually right now where they could reach out to you and get on the history bus for these light tours. Let's tell them about that.
Absolutely. Well, the best way to get a hold of me always is my cell phone, which is 713-364-8674. Write this down, Houston, 713-364-8674. You are always welcome to call or text me with any questions you have about Houston history, about information about the bus, how to get on board. I talk to everybody on the phone because I want to get to know you. I want to make sure we're the right fit for what we do. My market's actually not tourists. My market is Houstonians that want to learn about Houston's past. And what we're doing now until January 3rd, it's River Oaks Christmas lights. And this is a great way. It's Mr. McKinney's River Oaks Christmas Light Tours, and they're all about the history of River Oaks. We talk about the history of the mansions, who built the mansions, and where their money comes from, in addition to showing you the great lights on board Houston's only open-air school bus. So think about that. Yes, you can rent the hay rides. Yes, you can rent the limousines of the buses, but those have all got tinted glass window. They're low to the ground. We're going to show you the history and the lights in a very unique and special way, and that's what this time of year is all about, making memories, being able to, be together in a fun, safe way and also learn about history. That's what we do on board the bus. So we're going to take you on a journey through River Oaks to the history of luxury living. We start off talking about the 1850 neighborhood called Quality Hill in downtown Houston on the east side. We then transform you down the south end where those mansions are located. Kirby Mansion, for example, all the way down Smith Street, Main Street. Then we take you to Westmoreland, 1902, Cortlandt Place, 1906, Avondale, 1907, Montrose, 1911, Shadyside, 1916 in the Museum District area, Broad Acres also around there too, and then River Oaks, 1924. Now, we don't physically take you there. We only do the tour for 1 hour in River Oaks, but I take you on a journey through Houston's luxury living. So those that want to learn about the history of luxury living in Houston, come on board this tour because it starts off that way. And then, of course, we're in River Oaks showing you the mansions, talking about them. But now the average River Oaks resident, by the way, I should say this, spends about $48,000 on lighting packages, 48 grand, 24 to put them up and 24 to take them down. It's a really impressive light show they do. And they do this for us. Lots of these folks have a winter home, someplace it's warm. They're not home at this time of year. Now they might be because of the current scenario this year, though. But in a given year, they're normally out and about, traveling or not at their home. So what they're doing is they're doing these lights for us, for Houston to be able to enjoy them. It brings them joy when people get joy as well. So you get to see these amazing lights, and we keep the party rolling because I've got 3 routes that I run for River Oaks. I've been doing this for 17 years in River Oaks. So we go through different routes and really show you, keep the party rolling so you get to see these great lights.
Wow, I was going to ask, how long have you been doing it? So you've had the history bus for 17 years? Or how long have you
good
had
question.
that?
The history bus is only 4 years old, but I've rented buses and things like that, so I know what works and what doesn't work in regards to vehicles, and I understand that people are going to learn a lot more when the top is cut off. So I've been doing this with tours, light tours, Mister McKinney's historic. We used to go to Shepherd Park Plaza, or we go to Woodland Heights, 1907. We go to Pecan Park. So we do travel in different areas before the bus, but now with the history bus and the demand for River Oaks, we are stationed in River Oaks every single evening. We go out at 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, and 10:30. My background's theater. I spent 12 years working for the Alley Theater and 5 years at Theater on the Stars. So you get a performance, and the performance, they're 1 hour performances, okay? So the demand is so strong, we have to go out 7 nights a week, every single night from November 26th, which is Thanksgiving, all the way till January 3rd. The lights get taken down about January 5th. That's 40 days that we go out, 6 tours a night, 240 performances. So, and we're 90% full. I want to let your listeners know that it's important for them to like and follow Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston on Facebook, Instagram, and especially Twitter, or Twitter rather as well, and the Houston History Bus, because we launch every year in July. We launch in July, and then by September of every year, we're totally booked. You can't get on board the bus. We just have a voicemail that says, sorry, I can't help you out this year. We're totally committed. But because of COVID, people forgot about us. But now also because of COVID, everyone wants to ride the bus because it's open air, it's friendly, it's safe. So, we do encourage people to like our social media sites. It costs you nothing, but then you'll learn about when we launch our tours, and you'll be able to come join us before everybody else does.
And where do people park when they want to take the tour? How does the parking work when they're getting ready to get on the bus? Tell us a little bit about the mechanics.
Absolutely. So after you text 713-364-8674, 713-364-8674, your first name, last name, and the number of people in your group. The bus does hold 20, okay? The number of people in your group. That, and again, we go out till January 3rd, so people can still get on board. Then we give you the address. We don't give it out until you pay because people do have a tendency to show up. A lot of folks will follow my bus during the tours, as we're doing it. They'll find us in River Oaks and they'll follow us with their windows down, which I don't mind. I mean, I think that's kind of cute and kind and a compliment. However, we want to make sure we don't have too much of a caravan following us, so we don't give out the location. But we do have free parking where we meet at, and there's clean restrooms and all that great stuff. And you can bring your own food and drinks on board the bus. When you rent the bus out fully with 20 people, you have a private special experience that allows you to bring your own food and drinks. And then we have some other great incentives that we offer as well. And we've got a closed air bus with heat and air conditioning if for some reason it rains, because you know what they say, the party must go on. In this time of year, people have lots of family from out of town and they can't reschedule. So no worries. We do have a closed bus. If for some reason we need to use that one, we will take it out. That's our last resort. You want to pay for the open air experience, we want to give it to you.
People can go as an individual or a couple, or they could rent the whole bus out also.
Yes. So we normally don't offer individual seats, but we have some. So if you're a listener, if you're listening to the show right now, which we appreciate, and you do text me and you mention Bill Napick and you mention the show, I will make sure we get you on board the bus, okay? We normally only work for groups of 10 or 20 this time of year because the demand is so strong. But if you're a listener right now, we'll make that happen just for you guys, okay? So how about that? Because we want to make sure you rent the whole bus out, but we can accommodate folks. We can get them in, and if not, I can find ways to accommodate them. So absolutely, for your listeners, we'd be happy to do that.
In fact, as you mentioned, the caravan or people following, you're sort of a Pied Piper of sorts, Mr. McKinney, the Pied Piper. So before we close the segment, you mentioned that.
Sure.
I thought that was fascinating, and I'm sure you have so many tips and trivia and facts as far as the cost. But give us another word or two about the River Oaks tour as far as the things you talk about. I love the idea that the average cost of the decorations, but what are some of the other things you tell people?
Here's some fun facts. We're going to take you by. So what I specialize in is real estate history and development in Houston more than anything else. That's what fascinates me, the built environment, how the city grows. Well, we're going to take you by some key developers, some key titans and tycoons, some movers and shakers. One guy has a house that he built from 1933 to 1935. He built it at the height of the Great Depression. He was a famous oil wildcatter, and he built the house so big that he actually wanted to employ contractors during the Great Depression, which is why his house is so big, just so he could employ these people to work in our city during that tough time. His house is on 3.5 River Oaks lots. You're going to see it and be amazed by this house. We're also going to take you by the very first house ever built in River Oaks, 1924. It's what started it all. It was the country home of a very famous cotton broker, and we're going to show you his house. It's the country house, by the way, so you'll get to see the stables and the carriage house, because that's the only way to get out there back in the day was by carriage. I mean, it was pretty impressive. We'll talk about the street names, where they get their names from. We'll talk about, like I said, these amazing titans and tycoons, these legends. We'll take you by John Staub's house. You might know the name John Staub. He did the 1928 Bayou Bend house. I'm a Hog's beautiful 1928 mansion. We're going to show you his actual house, which was built in 1926, and that was the furthest house out west at the time that it was built in 1926 in our city limits. Pretty cool. So yeah, it's a really exciting, engaging experience. If you like history, if you like lights, this is the tour for you.
And Mr. McKinney, one more time, let's tell everyone the phone number.
Yeah, it's 713-364-8674, 713-364-8674, or MrMcKinney.com, Mr. spelled out always like Mr. Rogers, MisterMcKinney.com. And absolutely like and follow us on social media. I'm going to ask you about that when you do call in. Make sure you follow us. It means a lot to me, okay?
Very nice. Mr. McKinney, the one and only Mr. McKinney. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, my pleasure. Take care, Bill.